Okay, we are good to go.
Great, thank you. So welcome everyone to the meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. Today is Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. We are calling the meeting to your order. And could you please give your attention to this short video, please?
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Thank you. So Terry Ann, could you now conduct the roll call, please?
Commissioner Arnrich.
Here.
Commissioner Butt.
Here.
Commissioner Geringer.
Here.
Commissioner Haskew.
Here.
Commissioner Hudson.
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Here.
Commissioner Nowak.
Here.
Commissioner Thorpe is absent. Commissioner White is absent. Vice Chair Glover is absent. Chair Kelly.
Here.
Representative Foley is absent. Representative Powers is absent. Representative Worth.
Here.
Okay, we have Commissioners Thorpe, White, and Vice Chair Glover absent, and Representatives Foley and Powers absent.
Okay,
And we do have a quorum.
great. Thank you very much. So our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, read by Commissioner Arnrich. Could you please mute your mic?
Thank you. If you'll please join me by placing your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So our next item is public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Terry Ann, have we received any written public comments?
We have not received any written public comments.
And is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on an item that is not part of the agenda? If so, could you please raise your hand? Terry Ann, do we see anyone wanting to speak?
No, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, well, thank you. So let's move on. We have no presentations this evening. So we're next going to the consent calendar. We have several items here. Does anyone from the board wish to pull an item on the consent calendar? If so, please speak up. No? Terry Ann, has anyone sent us any written comments about the consent calendar?
No, we have not received any written public comments.
And is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on an item on the consent calendar? If so, please raise your hand. And Terry Ann, I don't see anyone.
raised. Yeah.
I'll move consent.
Okay, so there's a motion by Dave Hudson.
Second. Oh, whoever.
I'll give that second to Sue Nowak. Any further discussion? No, Terry Ann, can we have a roll call, please?
And I just want to note that Representative Foley has joined the meeting. And I'll go ahead and take the roll call now. Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Aye.
Commissioner Hudson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Chair Kelly.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Thorpe, Commissioner White, and Vice Chair Glover absent.
okay, thank you. So
You're
now we move on to our regular agenda items. And the first item is from the Administration and Projects Committee. It's an action item. Ivan Ramirez is going to present an item on Interstate 80 State Route 4 Interchange Improvements Phase 4 project. Ivan?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Ivan Ramirez, and I'm the Director of Construction. And I have a brief presentation for this item, and I'm hoping that you are able to see it on the screen. Are you able to see it on the screen?
You change it to the slideshow view, Ivan?
Okay, hold on one second to get there.
That looks good.
Oh, it was better before than now?
I'll switch it back.
Oh, sorry, okay.
You had it. It was good.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Terry Ann.
There we go.
So, Commissioner, so this is going to be a good story because staff working with our partners was able to find additional funding to deliver an additional phase of the I-680 State Route 4 interchange. And I'm going to give you a brief description of the project. Most of you have probably seen this slide before, but it's good going back and reviewing it. And we currently have under design let's start from the back. Currently, we're getting to the conclusion of phase 3 of the project, which is the widening of State Route 4, as is shown here in the yellow. And in addition to that, we're also working in the design phase, first the environmental revalidation, and then the design phase of what we call phase 1A and phase 1, and phase 2A. And very briefly here, phase 1 is going to have a coming northbound 680. There's going to have a huge, very high connector ramp, bringing going over the interchange, dropping people here, going into westbound 4. In addition to that, we're going to have a slip ramp directly onto Pacheco Boulevard. By putting that in here, we're also going to have to make some realignment of Bloom Road there, so that, and also the recently constructed Martinez Park and Ride Station. So that's going to be that portion of the work. We also have phase 2A under design, and that is going to increase what we call the collector distributor here, going southbound on 680. And that is going to help mitigate a lot of the traffic that gets congested over here. As most of you know, that interchange has serious operational issues. And with these 2 phases, we hope to alleviate a lot of the westbound and eastbound connection to southbound 680 from State Route 4. So what the content of my presentation today has to do with the fact that we've been able to locate in additional funds to complete what we call phase 4, and it's represented here in the color purple. We're coming southbound on 680. We're going to put an additional connector ramp, and that one is going to take traffic going in the eastbound 4 direction. And there's some additional improvements here towards going towards Port Chicago and so on. So those are the phases. There's not enough phase money right now for phase 5, so that stays where it is. And also for the remainder of phase 2, which is the additional shown in red here, light red, and that this phase is very expensive because there's a lot of right-of-way that needs to be attained, and also compensate the owners to make that project move forward. So again, the improvement here that the additional improvement we're gonna put in under the design contract would be that connector ramp. So I want to walk you a little bit into how this worked out, because there's a lot of strategy that needs to happen that staff has to develop in order to come up with additional funding sometimes, and this is one of them. Originally, the original transportation plan only included phases 1 and 2A. An opportunity came up to apply for funds for the SB1 Trade Corridor Enhancement Program grant. So CCTA took the opportunity, presented what turned out to be a compelling application, because in December of 2020, CTC awarded $18 million for the design phase of the project, the environmental revalidation and design phase. There was a condition that 30% needed to be matched with local funds. Those funds were allocated to come from Regional Measure 3, because those funds right now are not available. They are being held up because there's ongoing litigation. The board approved a letter of no prejudice for those $8 million, and that allowed the project to move forward. So with that, having that money available, we moved into the revalidation and PS&E phases, like I mentioned earlier. And the board approved an amendment to WMH task order to proceed with that work. And that work is ongoing right now. We are working with our partners. We're meeting the milestones so we can deliver that project on schedule. So with having said that, on October of 2021, the authority asked NMTC approve an amendment to the regional transportation plan so that phase 4 could be included into the $18 million funding that was available because of the CTC award back in December 2020. So the funds were obtained, but staff knew that the RTP needed to be amendment, and in addition to that, the TCPE and the CTC needed to approve that amendment. So again, staff working with Caltrans, MTC, CTC got that approval as well. So that's what allowed us to bring not lose the $6.7 million that we're gonna ask you to approve today, to continue or increase the design of the project. Had we not done any of these steps that I just delineated, staff wouldn't have done that, then the project never would have had the opportunity to move into phase 4. So that was a lot of work that was done by staff. So where we are right now, when doing all the phases that I talked about, 1, 2A, and 4, we expect to complete the final design in October of 2024, advertise in December of 2024, and hopefully begin construction February 2025, and complete construction in December 2027. There are significant challenges still regards to funding. So right now, $236 million have been identified, Regional Measure 3 being the bulk of that funding. But where we are right now, as far as construction in 2022 dollars, we're short, or the funding gap remains at $239 million. So the idea here is to bring this contract, have a shovel ready, and once that occurs, go out and seek money for construction. So so and another thing to keep in mind here is that currently inflation and escalation costs are rising rapidly. So 2022 dollars might not be enough 2 years from now. So with that, well, I'm going to open it up to questions. Let me get out of this presentation. So
Thank you, Ivan.
To the board.
Yeah, I know this is very, very complex, and with all of these different phases and the funding. Are there any questions? Tom Butt.
You know, I don't need an answer right now, but this is a huge project and very complex, very complicated, very expensive. I'd be interested in seeing some of the projections about how this is going to change traffic flow, you know, on Highway 4 and Highway 680. I'm just curious.
Certainly, we'll make that make sure that you get the information that we have about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions or comments from the board?
Okay, so with that, then I'm gonna staff six agreement for the chair to execute amendment number 3 to agreement number 503 and task order number 2 with WMH in the amount of $6,776,877 for a new total agreement value of $23,155,044 to provide environmental validation, final design, and bid support services, and to allow the executive director or designee to make any substantive changes to the language.
Okay, thank you. And before we move ahead with that, I want to know, Terry Ann, do we have any written public comments?
No written public comment.
And does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? No?
No hands raised.
Yeah. No, I would just say one thing in answer to Tom Butt. When I drive right now on Highway 4 and want to go on 680 South, it's much easier to do that. I used to have to kind of move over and was almost, clipped by other cars coming off of Pacheco Boulevard. And now, Tom, it's a lot easier for me to navigate that. So that's one improvement that I certainly see right now. Anyway, with that, Newell?
Thank you. I'd be more than willing to move this item. I think, we are poised in the right place to be able to do this, take advantage of that. There are mostly those federal funds that also we should highlight this to. But I think we have looked in the past at the benefits of this project and the overall, it's been on the list for a long time. Going back, and it's sort of a commitment that we've made. And it's not only for improvement of traffic, and there's lots of levels of definition of that. One is safety. As you know, there were some very dangerous maneuvers on that. And there was a very famous accident that happened many years ago. But it also does improve all those other metrics that we have. We've looked at it in the past, and more than willing to go ahead and move that we execute this agreement number 503, task order number 2, for $6,776,877 as presented tonight.
Thank you. So there's a motion by Arnrich. Is there a second?
Heck, I'll second it.
Okay, I'm going to give the second to Tom Butt. Any further discussion? Terry Ann, can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Arnrich,
Aye.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Aye.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Chair Kelly.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Thor, Commissioner White, and Vice Chair Glover absent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
our next action item is.
Did we call for public comment?
uh,
Did I miss it?
You
Okay.
did.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Okay, sorry, I had a blank for a moment.
I understand. This is exciting stuff for the public. Anyway, moving on. This next action item is presented by Terry and Grover, and this is about adopting a publicly available pay schedule for fiscal year 22-23 and approval of changes to some positions. Terry Ann?
Okay, well, this item is going to be even more exciting. So good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and Representatives. So this item is being brought forward for a few different reasons, and I want to try to break it down. I know it was kind of a long recommendation, so I just wanted to try to break it down more simple. First, this is our annual adoption of a publicly available pay schedule to increase the salaries by the 3.5% cost of living adjustment. We are capped annually at 3.5%, and it's based on the consumer price index that is ending in December, which was 4.2%. This increase would go into effect on July 1st, contingent upon approval of the fiscal year 2022-23 annual budget in June. This is an annual requirement for CalPERS. The second part of this approval is that we are reassigning 2 full-time equivalent positions from 2 senior engineers to a finance manager and an engineering manager. The engineering manager position aspired from succession planning and the promotion of the senior engineer to an engineering manager and is administrative. The other position was vacant and has been reassigned to a finance manager to better support the authority's needs and increase some responsibilities in the finance department to manage state and federal grants and provide support to the chief financial officer. We have limited positions and want to ensure that we are filling the right positions when we have vacancies to best support the needs of the authority and to have continued success in the future, provide for upward mobility and support our succession planning goals. And then the third part of this approval is that we are requesting to add a new classification of Director of Mobility Programs. This will increase the full-time equivalent positions from 20 to 21 for fiscal year 2022-23. This approval establishes the classification, salary range, job description, and assigns one full-time equivalent position to this classification. This position will be used to support the Director of Programs on the Integrated Transit Plan, implementation of the Electric Vehicle Readiness Blueprint, the 511 Contra Costa Program, Mobility as a Service Platform, and the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan implementation efforts, among many other things, and allow for knowledge sharing, continuity, and long-term stability in the programs department. And it will support our succession planning goals. A recruitment to fill this position would take place after approval from the authority board. We are seeking approval of staff's recommendation to approve Resolution 2135A, Revision 1, to make the adjustments to the salary ranges, full-time equivalent positions, and add the Director of Mobility Programs classification. This report shall serve as the authority's report summarizing the final action on salary pursuant to the Brown Act. That concludes my presentation, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Terry Ann. Are there any questions from the board? Or any comments? No.
Well, I'll make a comment.
All right, Noel,
Yeah, I
yes.
think just to kill the silence, one, I appreciate this agency. We do have limitations that were put on by the voters. And we have an incredibly small staff. I know Tim has been talking about some of the reassignments and doing this. Every move that's been made has made this a better agency. And I think this is a reasonable and fiscally responsible proposal to move forward. And it will be folded in subject to us approving the budget for our next fiscal year. And after you get public comment, be glad to make the motion to move this item.
Okay, thank you. So Terry Ann, do we have any written public comment?
No written public comment.
No, and does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item?
No
Nope.
hands.
No hands raised?
I
Okay,
will
if there's-
second. I will second them. Oh, sorry.
okay, Noel, would you like to make the motion? And I think then Luella wants to second it.
I make the motion now that we've had the public hearing to approve as presented by staff.
Second, Hudson.
I'm going to give the second to Luella since she
Yeah.
was first, Dave. You're always
Dave-
jumping in.
Dave, sit on it a little bit.
Okay, so motion by Arnrich, second by Haskew. Any further discussion? No. Terry Ann, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Arnrich,
Aye.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Aye.
Commissioner Hudson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Chair Kelly.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Thorpe and White and Vice Chair Glover absent.
Okay, thank you. So our next regular agenda item comes from the Planning Committee. And John Huang is going to present the draft fiscal year 2022-23 Congestion Management Agency budget. John? John, are you there? You need to.
John's on mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was getting the presentation ready and didn't realize it was on mute. Okay, good evening, Chair Kelly and Commissioners. Tonight, I'll be presenting the draft fiscal year 22-23 CMA budget. And I have a short slide deck to share with you, and I'm sharing it right now, and you should see it.
We see it.
Okay, thank you. So there's, as a CMA, for the authority performs three major functions. We're responsible for implementing the Measure J's Transportation Planning and Growth Management Program the GMP, which includes development and maintenance of the transportation forecasting model and supporting the planning efforts for the RTPCs, the Regional Transportation Planning Committees. We're also required as the authority to support ongoing planning processes with the cities and the county through the funding and development of the countywide transportation plan. We also serve as the congestion management agency for Contra Costa County. And in that role, we're responsible for developing the countywide transportation plan also, and also updating the congestion management program, the CMP, biannually, which we will be updating it this for next fiscal year. We're maintaining the transportation forecasting model as well as coordinating with MTC in the development of the regional transportation plan, the recently adopted Plan Bay Area 2050, as well as implementing and monitoring state and federal funds. Lastly, our role is to address sustainable community strategies, which includes transit-oriented communities, programs brought up by MTC. We support the RTP, Regional Transportation Plan, and the efforts developing priority development areas, and as well as PDA growth investment strategies and planning grant programs. The budget is split into two groups. One category is called the GMP activities, and I'm highlighting some of the items, but you can see the complete list in attachment D. Some of the tasks that we're working on this next fiscal year under the regional planning task, and the asterisk means that some of the funds is included in this GMP, some of the funds included in the CMP, which is the next slide. Some of the regional planning tasks we're doing this next fiscal year includes the countywide fiber study, doing the concept exploration for a countywide smart signals project, and implementing the Measure J growth management, including monitoring of the GMP compliance through the checklist, working with regional transportation planning committees to implement action plans, which we're right in the midst of it right now and continuing through next fiscal year, and ultimately developing those action plans and the CTP. We're also having a subscription continuation from Streetlight. Good thing is that we're including 8 cities that's participating in that would offset the costs to CCTA. And also we're working on the bi-county activity based model development. The $1 million is actually the expenditure. We do get the bulk of that money back through reimbursement. The next slide is the congestion management program activities. And again, the CMA and the CMP support, which is general support activities that we provide to the region and the county. We also provide the update, and we plan to update the bike ped plan and Vision Zero implementation. I think it was in the last slide, which I failed to mention. And we are splitting it between the two funding pots of money. And also we included the strategic communication for public outreach. This is really coincide with our CTP effort, which is going to be going full speed the next fiscal year. And also we're looking at developing a VMT mitigation scatter calculator, which is the follow-up to mitigate the VMT project funded by Caltrans. With that, this breaks down the budget for the CMA function. As you can see, the GMP is funded by the 3% that we receive from Measure J for congestion management, transportation planning, facilities and services remaining, and in other services, and is funded by Measure J and also remaining funding from the old Measure C. The CMA function is actually funded by a variety of sources which includes funding from MTC, STP Surface Transportation Program funding, PPM, which is state planning, programming, and monitoring funding, and local contributions and gas tax. The SCS, which is the last category, which is fairly small category, is funded by STP funds. So at the end of the day, we're looking at a total budget of 6.7 million. And assuming taking into account the revenues and the reimbursement that we're planning to receive, we're looking at a local contribution of $447,000 and $447,071. And that amount will be distributed. It will be contribution from the 20 jurisdictions within the county. With that, the staff is seeking your approval to send this preliminary draft budget to the chair of the Public Managers Association, the PMA, for circulation and obtain their approval from each member. That means each jurisdiction, and authorize staff to make the minor changes to the budget as needed prior to circulation. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, John. You can come back here. So are there any questions here from the board? Any comments? None? Terry Ann, have we received any written public comment on this item?
No written public comments.
And does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Quiet bunch tonight.
No hands raised.
Okay, so bringing it back, would someone like to make a motion to move this forward? Teresa Geringer?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll
Mitchoff?
second it, but
Okay, so this time motion by Geringer, seconded by Mitchoff. Any further discussion? Terry Ann, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Arnrich,
Aye.
Commissioner Butt,
yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Chair Kelly.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Thorpe, White, and Vice Chair Glover absent.
Thank you. Boy, this is a quiet bunch tonight. Anyway, moving on, we have correspondence, and in your packet, there's a letter to MTC from CCTA about the proposed transit-oriented community policy update. Do we have any comments on that? No, there were a lot of comments last time. Teresa Geringer?
Just comment that just thanking staff under our executive director's leadership for compiling the letter and continuing to offer CCTA's concerns.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Any other comments? Dave, well, okay, I'm going to go first here. Amy Worth.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I was trying to find a little hand. I can't find the hand, but first of all, I really want to just thank staff for the incredible work in reaching out to the planning directors, and the comments that John and his team compiled from all the cities and from the CCT analysis has been immensely helpful, also in providing framework for the other counties as they're really looking at this. So grateful, and it's going to be very, very helpful as we look to the next steps. And once this will inform the draft revisions, and I think it's been really helpful. We've been able to follow up with our MPC staff regarding the elements and the concerns. And so I just want to thank staff for echo Commissioner Geringer's comment, and thank you. It's been an amazing effort and immensely helpful in terms of really coming up with guidelines that will work well for Contra Costa County.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the board? Terry Ann, do we have any written public comments?
No written public comments, but do see that Dave Campbell has his hand raised.
I do too. So Dave, would you like to go ahead?
Here, we're gonna, oh, thank you, Lindsay. She's got the slide up there.
Yeah.
Let
Dave?
me go ahead and spotlight you.
Good evening, everyone. This is Dave Campbell, Advocacy Director with Bike East Bay. We, Bike East Bay, have been providing comments on the TOC policy, and your staff at CCTA are aware of our concerns and have been responsive. But I make these comments just so the board and the commissioners know our concerns about the work we've been doing at several BART stations in Contra Costa County, you know, Hillcrest, Pittsburgh BART, El Cerrito BART, Treat Boulevard right outside your offices that you used to meet at in person. You know, constant battles to try to get safe bike access and even safe walking access to these transit stations. And there's just all these cars we have to accommodate. And what's the policy? And many of these drivers are driving to BART so they can use BART, and that's a good thing. But what are the priorities on these roadways when we're trying to get people in and out of the BART stations? And often it's the bike lane that gets dropped. And so we're trying to come up with a better policy about providing complete bike access into our transit stations that prioritize active transportation and also recognize the through car trips that are causing the problem or creating the challenge, if you will, not the people driving to BART to park and use transit per se. And so anyway, I just want to let you know, I've been talking to John and Tim and others, staff there. They're aware of our concerns, and I've been sharing it with MTC. But often this comes down to one city working on a project like El Cerrito or Pittsburgh, for example, trying to solve regional transportation problems. And so this policy needs to ensure that an organization like the CCTA is involved in all of these projects where regional transit service is trying to be improved. And it also means MTC needs to be involved, in my opinion. I haven't read your letter. I'm going to do that as soon as I get off this call because I'm curious what y'all's concerns are. But these are Bike East Bay's concerns, and I hope you can share those concerns with us and help us work towards a solution. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Terry Ann, are there any other speakers here who wish to speak on this item?
No, I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, we'll move on. So in your packet, there's the committee reports and there's a meeting report from SWAT in the handout packet. So we'll move on then to authority board and staff comments. And the only comment that I have as chair was that I think the Redefining Mobility Summit a few weeks ago was absolutely wonderful. It was great to see everybody in person. It was so heartening to see the students with all of their projects and hear the different presentations. And, you know, it's not just about, you know, the taxis, the autonomous taxis, but there are long haul trucking. Aurora Trucking is testing out long haul autonomous vehicles. There are drone deliveries that are in the works. This is all very, very exciting. And I even saw the other night on 60 Minutes, something about air taxis, EV toll taxis. I mean, it's like the Jetsons cartoons that I used to watch when I was a kid. So whether or not we like this, it's coming. And we got to be prepared. And it's kind of exciting. It's kind of scary. But I just thought our Redefining Mobility Summit was wonderful because it shows that CCTA is aware of and addresses and has interest in these new solutions. So just want to thank the staff for that. It was a wonderful event. So with that, I'd like to see if there are any commissioner comments this evening. Yes, Dave Hudson.
Yeah, I just want to say briefly, and please, Karen, jump in because I'm going to have to jump off right after this. Today, we had a brief Bay Area Air Quality Management District meeting of 5 hours. And I want to make sure that CCTA, if you could, you sent a very voluminous letter about CEQA thresholds. I believe it was the CEQA thresholds. And please double check and make sure if we followed any of your recommendations. Gosh, so I can't even remember the rest of it, but the CEQA thresholds stuck out in my mind. We asked a lot of questions if we were going along in the right direction. And sometimes we don't think this means very much, but apparently it did, because Concord also sent a letter as well as others. And I'm just asking, check and make sure that you got what you were asking for before we send it to the board 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you, Dave. Tom Butt?
A couple of pieces of exciting news out of Richmond. First of all, overall, ferries have experienced the highest percentage of post-COVID recovery of any public transportation mode. A couple of weeks ago, WIDA said they were trending at about 53%. And the Richmond ferry line is at 80% and is leading the pack. So that's very exciting news. I'm not sure why, but we're excited about it. The second thing is, today I attended the launch of the Richmond Drive Electric Earth Day and EV shuttle launch. And so with a substantial grant from the California Air Resources Board, Richmond is launching an on-demand shuttle service that services most of central Richmond, and including, for example, Hilltop, Point Richmond, the ferry terminal, the El Cerrito and Richmond BART stations. And it only costs $2. It's exactly like Uber. It runs on the same software. You download an app, you call it up, it comes and picks you up and takes you wherever you want to go. It costs $2. Seniors and students are free. And until May 31st, anybody who uses it gets 10 free rides. So we're very excited about that. And these are all electric, 7-person. They're not really vans, but they're more like SUVs that are operated. So we're very excited about that.
That sounds great. Thank you, Tom. Any other commissioner comments? No, then I'll go to ex officio, Amy Worth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wait a minute, I am unmuted. Okay. So I gave the first part of my report earlier when I thanked John for his letters, but the second piece is, and as you know, MTC, a lot of our efforts are in the federal arena with legislative advocacy to bring funding home to the Bay Area. And as you know, there are a lot of different federal funds that are going to be flowing into transportation projects in the coming years. And so MTC has put together a framework for advocacy and identified key projects for key sectors of money. So that's all I'm going to say, because I'm going to let Tim share the other piece of it. So we were really pleased, and gosh, thank you to our great CCTA leadership for, and Tim, I couldn't find it, but I wanted to, at some point we can share that, in George's briefing chart that shows the project. But anyway, I'm going to let Tim take the second part of my report.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
And seeing no other hands, with that, we'll go to Tim Hale. Tim?
Thank you, everyone. This is actually probably one of the shortest meetings we've had in a while, so I'm going to make sure I have a really long executive director's report. So I got an over-under on 7 p.m., so I got to make sure I win. So yeah, just following up on Representative Worth's comments about the federal regional strategy. So it's actually really exciting to see the Bay Area finally come together on about a dozen different programs for the infrastructure bill and the IIJA, the Investment Infrastructure Jobs Act. And so CCTA was really had a great opportunity to have MTC commissioners and the commission approve that the Innovate 680 as well as the I-680 Express Bus service be approved as their signature project for what they call the National Infrastructure Assistance Program, or more commonly known as the MEGA. And this is a big deal. It is a very large program. These are for projects that are over $500 million. And so what we were able to do is really take advantage of the great work we've been doing, compiling this, what they call, or the feds call, a network of projects, and Innovate 680 and our express bus service is really the only of its kind in the Bay Area, which really lend well to it competing very well, not here just in the Bay Area, but also throughout the entire nation. And so we're really excited about that. Our entire team, the actual notice of a funding opportunity actually was released and it's due on May 27th, I think it is. And so we are all hands on deck in terms of putting this together and working with MTC staff and federal advocacy, as well as with Jason Ty, our federal advocates on all of this. And so it's a huge deal. We have an ask of about $390 million for the 680 corridor. And so it's a really, really big deal. And so it's going to take a lot of effort on all parts and all fronts. And so it's really exciting. So yeah, thank you to Representative Worth and Commissioner Glover and just their leadership and MTC Commission to really position us well for that. And then I also wanted to follow up to kind of staying on the MTC side of the house, the transit oriented community policy, the TOC policy. I know there were some comments on that, and I just want to let everyone know that there's been some follow up with MTC staff on that. And so there will be some planned revisions, I think some positive revisions to the policy. And that the new policy will actually be out probably in early May for people to review. And we'll be taking a close look at that again to make sure our comments were addressed. I have actually been talking with some of the other executive directors about potentially putting together a joint letter from some of the East Bay CMAs or county transportation agencies to be able to kind of bring in the weight from the East Bay in terms of how this can't be a one size fits all for the Bay Area. Just a couple other things. We had a great groundbreaking at the McCollum pedestrian overcrossing. It was very well attended. I know some of you attended the groundbreaking, and so I thought it was really good to see everyone. That was our first in-person groundbreaking project event that we've had after COVID, and it was really great to see everyone. And so that project is starting construction here soon, and it's just neat to see that project really evolve from mitigation for the Highway 4 bypass into really a focal point for the city of Brentwood and for the region for transit. Also, you've been hearing a lot about OBAG 3 and in terms of our plan for that. And so we've been working closely with your city staff and city managers, as well as the planning directors on coming up with a framework for OBAG 3. It's about $47 million for Contra Costa County, and the different approach that MTC is taking this time compared to OBAG 2 is that it's all going to be competitive. So it's not going to be a formula-based program. So we need to make sure that we're putting our projects, coming up with a framework that really puts forward the best projects that are going to be competitive region-wide, so we can meet our county target share to get to that $47 million. And as you know, that can be challenging with Contra Costa and the East Bay. We don't really have a great track record with that. So it's really important that we're putting great projects together. And so we are taking an item to the technical coordinating committee on Thursday to brief city staff on our approach. And just, I wanted to give you a brief insights on what that's going to look like. We are going to be bringing it to the authority board in May, but I know I've been speaking to some of you about this, but it's really half the money is really going to be focused on a county-wide connected signal system for our routes of regional significance. And so we thought that was a really good way to make sure that local jurisdictions can get their fair share of these dollars and really help kind of fix some of these signals in Contra Costa County. So we are tired of, sitting at a red light with no other traffic at this traffic signal. So that's half of the money is going to be proposed to go to there. The other half is going to be really focusing on MTC's initiative of Vision Zero. So we're going to be looking at half of the money going to Vision Zero projects, as well as Safe Route to Schools, and as well as Complete Streets projects. And that's really to help some of the cities do some paving projects in their cities by doing a complete street project. So and so we're not saying you can't do paving. It's just you're going to have to add some active transportation components, to the project to be eligible, for OBAG 3 projects, and really to make sure that they're competitive, again, at the regional level. And so we've been working really closely with MTC staff. John and the planning group has been working hard on putting this together. And basically we got 2 thumbs up from MTC staff on our approach. And we're really looking forward to getting feedback from the local jurisdictions. I know we've been going to all the regional transportation planning committees and having that discussion. So there's going to be more to come of that at the May meeting. And so speaking about smart signal systems, I had the opportunity to go to the Intertraffic Conference and was invited to speak there, and had really some great meetings around how to put together a regional transportation management center for an entire city, as well as a smart signal system. So in Amsterdam, the entire signal system is in the cloud, completely managed with AI and ML. And so we were able to really had some great meetings, some great discussions. And actually, the session that I spoke at was actually the most attended session in the conference. So it was really, really well attended, about talking about automated driving systems and our vision for the future. And it was so well attended that we actually just got invited to the Dutch consulate to do some follow-up in San Francisco in the next couple of weeks. And it's just, and I know you already know this, but it's just amazing the reputation that we have globally and internationally. It really impresses me when I get out there and be talking with folks about what we're doing here at CCTA. Also, on the executive director report, you probably see a lot of countywide transportation plan outreach efforts. And so this is actually something that we'll probably be looking for your help in the future. Lindsay is actually working with your local jurisdictions to find out when all of your local summer events, we know it's summertime, concerts in the park, movie nights, those types of events. We are really looking forward to those events and looking for opportunities to get CCTA to those events so we can really talk about what we're doing and how we're planning for the future. And then lastly, Chair Kelly already talked about this, but Redefine Mobility Summit was a hit. We had over 60 students attend the event. I actually felt pretty dumb when I walked into the room with all the students, because it's just amazing what these students are actually working on. Developing and designing drones and robots and programming. It was just really, really impressive. And also got to see our Femineer program that we sponsored a few months ago. And this is an all-girls robotics club that's designing robots with a kit that we were able to sponsor for this class. So it's really exciting to see all that kind of come together. And so I'll pause now for any questions or comments about my report.
That's a mouthful.
If you need
That's great.
help on the Dutch translation, I'm volunteering.
It's in San Francisco.
Oh, too bad.
Any other questions or comments? No, well, thank you, Tim. It was a great report. Okay, so moving ahead, the calendars are in your packet. And with that, this is a short meeting tonight. This concludes our meeting. And our next meeting will be on May 18th, 2022. And we will now conclude the meeting at 6:53 p.m. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.